allow me now to move to the next topic of discussion, where we are looking at parenting during the festive season and the long holiday. It's December, and we're quite sure kids are elated that they are enjoying their holidays. But this is the time that even bad things happen as well, despite the fact that there are festivities, and because of a lot of time and parents and guardians not being vigilant about what their kids are doing. It's not the first time or the second we have seen even teenagers being arrested for crime during the holidays. These are some of the things that we need to look out for, and even their mental wellness. We need to keep tabs to ensure that our kids are safe and sound from all negative thoughts, and also from negative activities that culminate during the festive season. Allow me now to introduce my guest. She is a counseling psychologist, and she is well framed to give us an in-depth or a conclusive report in regards to how we are supposed to look out for our kids, our brothers, our friends during the festive season. Njeri, Gathu.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
First things first, because of interest of time, what as a parent should I be looking out for? The kids are here for 2 months.
Yeah. I mean, it's a long holiday, right?
Yes.
And I've had parents say that, it's chaotic. I mean, they need to delegate time to check that, they've done their homework, they've eaten, they've taken care of themselves, they've not found themselves in the wrong company. So it's a lot. But here's the thing. For anything to work, you must put in work, you must put in effort. If I'm trying to lose weight today, I'll not just sit in front of the TV and wallow in self-pity. I'll watch what I eat, I'll go to the gym. Sindio, if I want to get a promotion at work, I'll really put my best foot forward, submit my reports on time, make sure I'm at work on time so that I can be recognized and be given a promotion. Same goes to parenting. You want to have a relationship with your child, you need to put in work. You need to delegate time to understand what this child is about, what they like, what they don't like, understand their thought process, understand their patterns. What time does your child wake up? What time does your child go to sleep? Are they having any difficulties at school? Are they having difficulties fitting into their friends? Just create time to know your child. Yes.
And looking at what kids do, a lot of parents are not in the know, and especially when it comes to phones, tablets, TV, computers. And right now, I'm here working. My kid is at home. How do I help out so that whatever she watches, whatever she does, I'm on the know?
I mean, this is a major concern because, again, we cannot tell them not to watch TV. We cannot take the phones and the laptops away from them because we are raising global citizens and we want them to be tech savvy. However, a child who's operating a phone is a child who's mature enough, is a child who understands rules and regulations and understands limits. As a parent, are you taking time to set these limits with your child? Of course, I'm all about collaboration. I don't like this thing of I'm the parent, mi ndio nasema, I'm the one who calls the shots. We need to be able to negotiate with our children. So if they are watching, we have apps that you can use to regulate what your child is watching. You have apps that even dictate the kind of time, the amount of time that your child spends on these gadgets. Even on TVs nowadays, we have these locks that if the TV is watched for more than an hour, it automatically switches off. So as a parent, are you taking these measures, or we are just practicing lazy parenting where let them watch, let them scroll around? I mean, it's okay, but are you taking time to understand what kind of information they're accessing on these gadgets? Yes, it's your role. Yes. And
as a parent, I'm quite sure a lot of time, even if you decide to, for lack of a better word, police your child, when he or she is out there playing or with the peers, anything can happen.
That's true.
This is something that also parents need to watch out for.
Yeah.
The friends that your kids are socializing with. Because at least when the kid is at home, and you can keep tabs with what the kid is doing. But when the kid goes out, a lot can happen.
That's true.
And you cannot regulate that to the point.
Sadly, sadly so. However, when you collaborate with your child, when you have a relationship with your child, it means that you guys talk. You're able to tell them the do's and don'ts. You're able to tell them the risks that they could expose themselves if they mingle with certain kinds of people, or if they come home late, or if they do this and that. If you don't take time to talk to your child, the kind of information they will get from their friends from the TV, from the internet is just unimaginable. So are we talking to our children? You know, because yeah, ideally it would be we stay at home and monitor these children, ideally, but we are not living in the ideal world, we're in the real world. But if you talk to your child, I kid you not, because you have forged a relationship, they will think twice before they mess up. And even if they do, you guys will be able to talk about it and rectify. But if you don't have a relationship, if they don't know what it is that you expect from them, if they don't know that they need to look out for themselves also, what are we doing? Yeah.
And everybody, including our kids, have the right to privacy.
Yes.
But sometimes parents, as parents, you want to know exactly mtoto wangu anafanya nini. Ebu leta hiyo simu, because the parents who have already bought their kids a phone,
yes,
they want to scout exactly what the kid is doing when the kid is in her or in his room. The parent wants to dash in and more or less look like a cop and just look at the room exactly to establish what is there. The kids have the right to privacy. Where do we balance the privacy and the parenting?
Well, I mean, yes, we want to give them freedom, but it has to have limitations. I will not advise parents to just let their kids be, all right? Just because they have a phone or they have their own room, they should lock themselves and watch whatever they want or just invite as many people as they want. But as long as they understand that you're the parent and at some point you'll have to check whatever it is they have been scrolling on their phones, that you want to understand what kind of things they're watching on YouTube, TikTok and Netflix and all that, that you'll want to understand the kind of friends they're inviting in the room, that from time to time you will police the room to check. Because you're the parent and you're looking out for the best interest. What we do, we go there with a lot of force, with a lot of command, which of course nobody will appreciate. So you prepare them, you're like, you know, once every 2 weeks I'll be coming to check your room. So I'll be going through your stuff. So if there's something, of course they also want to clean up their mess, you know, but tell them, don't just ambush. Nobody likes being ambushed, by the way. So if you look at your child and try to treat them the same way you'd like to be treated, then you'll have some compassion and understanding. Yeah.
And because we are in December, you hear them saying that wakati wa sherehe, you see, this is when most youths indulge in one or two vices, including alcohol, narcotics as well, drugs. This is the time that they do that. And yes, we have, it's sherehe time, but the limits that we have to put for our kids and not seem like we want to control whatever they are doing. How, as a parent, would you advise that kind of parent?
So on this sherehe bit, I'm imagining we are talking about kids who are 18 and above. So these are kids who are in campus and college, correct?
Yes.
No, the thing is, we want to impose certain rules when they are older. We don't talk about these things when they're younger. We wait until they're 18, then you're like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. How about you start grooming them when they're younger so they understand at some point when they get into the outside world, there's exposure to this. There's exposure to sex, there's exposure to alcohol, there's exposure to weed and coke and all these things that people use. Why do we wait until the last minute? And then we have very short conversations. It's like 5 minutes. Ukienda utapata mimba. Aya. After that, usikunywe pombe, usirandarande. Why can't we start telling them? Of course, when they get to teenagehood, these children know a lot. Let us not underestimate these humans.
Yes.
They know a lot.
Yes.
So we should start grooming them at an early age so that as they grow, we have these conversations. And knowing that you're the go-to person for your child, let them know that in case of anything, if they want to know anything, can they come to you and ask? And what helps now with these older children, I find it easier to parent older kids because you give them your experiences. Yes.
And let's look at the kids, especially those who are in college. Those 18, from 18. But unfortunately, kids are indulging in sex even before they are 18 years of age. And it's a good thing you've pointed out that parents now tell you, don't do this, don't do that, don't. There's no conversation, more or less like rules. You know, there is this, please don't. You see? And that's that.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have a conversation so that you may even know, as a parent, the friends that your kid is going out with. And incidentally, when we talk about matters sex, parents are kind of conservative. And it's not the first time, the second time that you find your kid is already pregnant, and now the stigma starts, you see? But the parent never had that conversation with the kid. And incidentally, during our time, there were no phones.
Yes.
There's so much pornography in the devices that we have. unfortunately, even on television.
Yeah.
And there's the internet. Kindly advise us as parents.
Here's the thing. Parents fear so much talking to their children about sex because they feel that if they provide information, they're promoting promiscuity, that they're providing a leeway for them to just tanga. This is not true. We say information is power, all right? So, and sex education is just not about the act of sex. And this is where we go wrong. Because ukisikia tu mtu amesema sex education, you're like, unaharibu mtoto.
Yeah.
No. You start grooming them from a very early age. Age-appropriate advice, of course. When they are young, maybe 2 to 3, as we watch them, do you name their body parts as they are, or we simply say susu, dudu, and you know? All right. Well. And do we also teach them these songs that these are my private parts, nobody should touch them? You know, simple guidelines. As they grow older now, they become curious. Let them lead you with their curiosity, but then you don't have to say much. Yeah. This is the thing. They'll come and ask, where do babies come from? Okay. So create an interesting story that mommy has an egg, and daddy has an egg. They come together, they make a baby. As they get older, they'll learn something at school. They'll come and tell you, but this egg, and then now you give them another scenario. As they get older, now you go giving more and more information, but it doesn't mean that you're giving them too much information. When they are, you know, in their adolescence, are you talking about how to take care of their bodies, you know, how to communicate consent, how to be able to say no and mean it, how to relate with people, you know, how to have their boundaries in place? Are we doing that? We are not, because we think that if we do this, we are giving them too much information. Mtoto amefika 17 ama 18. Are you giving them safety measures? Because I kid you not, by the time they are there, they're already having sex. Who are we lying to ourselves? Why are we lying to ourselves? So are you telling them how to protect themselves? If your house has the purity culture,
mostly
that's
we are telling
different.
them to not indulge.
We are living a lie.
And I remember somebody said, if you're given 15 million shillings to watch a video of your life together with your parents,
Right.
a lot of people will say no, because you have done so much and your parents think you're that angel, and they wouldn't want anybody to know exactly what they're doing.
Exactly.
But their friends do know exactly. This is this and this and this and this. This person is taking weed. This person is having sex. This person is doing ABCD.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the parent, you're there in the house each and every day, but you cannot see anything or hear anything.
You know, this is the thing about parents as well, and this is not an attack. I'm one of those parents. We want to pretend that everything is okay. We want to live in the perfect world. My child is good. My child cannot have sex. My child cannot move around with boys. My child cannot smoke weed. But if I'm not having these conversations with her, how will I know? You know, most of the time we leave our children and we don't know them.
You're true.
They have that favorite auntie who they go to who knows them very well, or that BFF who knows them inside out. Lakini wewe ukiulizwa hauna clue. The kind of version that you give of your child and the kind of version that their friend will give, or their sibling, or their auntie, or their favorite teacher at school, you're like, who am I living with? So we need to be intentional.
And still in the houses, we still have helpers. Some call them the maids. We still have the helpers who help us with the duties in the house. And a lot of parents have abdicated the parenting duties to these people. In as much as it could be a good thing, what if this person has ulterior motives? That kid could go through some of the worst experiences in his or her life.
Yeah.
And you are the parent.
Yes.
And you think everything is going on smoothly. Perhaps is it a good idea to ensure that not only do you ask your helper at home how the kid is, but anybody else that this kid is interacting with? Because at the end of the day, we do not want our kids to end up in some quite interesting positions.
You see, you've called them helpers, domestic managers, maids, whichever, you know, is suitable. They're there to help you, all right? So this is your role, but you're delegating them to someone else, which is okay, because of course we need to go to work, we need to do stuff, we need to develop ourselves, because our lives don't end with parenting. But at the end of the day, do we take tabs to check how the child was, how their interaction was, you know? Do you also take time to understand from the child how their day was, what they did, what made them happy, what made them sad, what made them smile, how was the interaction with this nanny? We don't take time, we assume that everything is okay. And again, I'm not throwing shade here, but we need to be intentional with the kind of relationship that you have with our children. The same way we have time for chama and sherehe and church and all that. Let us also make time every day to understand our children, how they have been, how they feel, the kind of thoughts they have. Simple 20 minutes per day, uninterrupted attention. That's enough. Yes. Don't just assume that they've had a good day. No. Ask. It shows concern. Yes.
I've been in 2 functions in about a week by the Chief Justice, latest one being yesterday, where she talked about cases of SGBV, sexual gender-based violence cases being on the rise, and especially now that we are in the holidays. And I do remember a couple of years back when COVID came, I think it was in 2020, we did not understand, in as much as we were disturbed as parents, our kids were also disturbed.
Very.
A lot changed also in their lives, but we didn't actually take that as quite heavy so that we may try and help them psychologically. How can we help our kids deal with some of the things that are disturbing them in their mind? At least as an adult, you can be able to understand how I'm feeling, something is wrong. But our kids might decide to bottle that up, and unfortunately, when they blow up, it's quite something serious.
God has given us instincts. Listen to your instincts in regards to that child. Of course, as a parent, you know the cycles of your child. You know the kind of personality they are. You know their temperament. You know their performance in school. You know their feeding habits, I hope. You know their sleeping patterns. I hope you guys know these things. So, of course, when some of these things changes in appetite, changes in interaction, or just general demeanor, you should be able to understand there's something going on with this child. As they get older, it gets hard for them, because as adults also, sometimes we don't even know how to express our emotions. So you can imagine for a child, it's more confusing. It's more chaotic. It's like, my God, things are just going haywire. So trust your instinct, because you can, if you're in your child's life, maybe you will tell something is off, and then try to strike a conversation. And of course, if it's a matter of concern, that's when now you can bring them to a therapist, and then you can be able to unearth whatever it is that is bothering this child. Yes.
Now let's go to something that has already happened. I've discovered my son is engaging in drugs, and I've discovered maybe my daughter is engaging in sex. As a parent, I remember back in the days we were being whipped, but that is behind us now. How do you punish a kid who already understands what he or she is doing?
Can I correct you?
Yes.
We no longer punish, we discipline.
Discipline?
Yes.
All right.
When we punish, we are trying to inflict pain. It's all about control. Why are you controlling? What do you have to control here?
How do you discipline?
We discipline them like this. Number one, it depends on whether you had these conversations before. Or you said that they already know that they have done something wrong.
Yes.
All right. So.
And you've discovered.
And I have discovered.
Because kids are doing drugs.
Yes.
They're doing sex.
Yes.
They're doing a lot of things together.
Do they know their consequences to whatever they have done if they're doing drugs? All right. Do they know that you can cut out, let's say, their time, the time they spend with their friends? Okay. Do they know that you will limit the kind of time they spend on electronics?
By grounding them?
Yes, by grounding them, all right? Do they know that of course now, if they were getting allowances, I'm imagining these are kids who understand and they get allowances from time to time. Do they know that when they do this, these allowances will be cut off for a while? And also, ultimately, can you take them for therapy so you can understand? Because every behavior is need-driven, all right? So if you understand that, you'll understand that this child is trying to communicate something, and this could be beyond you. So can you take them to a certified therapist to understand the reason for them engaging? It could be they're feeling misunderstood. It could be they have low self-esteem. It could be a cry for help. You won't know until you take time to dig deeper and understand what is this child trying to communicate. Yes.
And conversations, parents hardly have conversation with their kids, where you find that maybe you have discovered something is not quite right. And instead of trying to plow and see exactly what is happening, parents will be like, na najua huyo jamaa mnaenda na yeye, ni kama wewe umeanza kunywa pombe wewe. The last time nilisikia kuna harufu nisikia ukiruka. You know, the harshness, the tone that the parents have. So the kids are like, okay, my dad knows that I've started taking alcohol, so I'll be making sure that he doesn't know. So he tries to counter that, and these kids are so smart. I see my kids are quite smart.
They are. Oh, yeah.
So how do you deal with that predicament as a parent?
Here's the thing. These people will test limits. They will experiment.
Far much than we did.
Oh my God, you know, the world is changing. We need to accept that.
Yeah.
And these humans are totally different from the kind of people we were. Remember also, there's a lot of freedom involved. Us, we were so scared of our parents' wrath that we had to do what is right. These ones of nowadays, they are like, you know what, let me just test and see. Let me test and see, which is okay because that is how they learn. But can we have these conversations with them over and over again? I know it's tiring. Maybe it's so boring to keep repeating yourself over and over again. But you're the parent. You're the child's advocate. You notice they're pinting, tell them, I know. But you know also, repercussions of having drinks, of drinking and doing drugs and stuff is this. Usichoke kurudia. Siku moja atakukumbuka. Because that is your divine role here. Yes.
What are some of the weaknesses that you've seen, or there's some of the mistakes that you've seen parents do, and they are so basic that if they correct them, they can be better parents, and especially when the kids are home for holidays?
Number one, we want to parent our children the same way we were parented, which will not work. We followed the rules. We were to be seen and not to be heard. It's different nowadays. So you cannot just raise someone who's looking at you like a tree there. You ask them jump, they ask how high. No, these are opinionated humans. And it's okay because you want to raise people who are able to reason and assert themselves and speak their minds. Number two, expectations. We have very high expectations, sometimes unrealistic expectations on our children. Can we just minimize and just give age-appropriate expectations on these children? Number three, most of us are not doing our inner work. We are passing generational trauma from our childhood into our children's lives, which is totally wrong. I know sometimes we are not aware, but when you listen to people, you're like, you know, did you like the way you were parented? They tell you no. I'm like, so why are you doing the same thing to your child? Be the kind of parent you'd have wanted for your child, full stop. No, be the kind of parent you'd have wanted for you. You understand? Yes. So show up for your child the way you'd have wanted your parents to show up for you. Yeah.
And a lot of suicide cases that we're seeing. Back in our days, yes, we had issues, but the issues of kids taking their lives just because of either failing or a parent has done A, B, C, D. We had a case where a kid shot himself. These cases are on the increase, and back in the day we didn't usually have that. And yeah, you have said that a lot has changed, even the mental wellness. How do we identify severe cases in our kids? Because when a kid decides to take his or her life, it shows there has been a very deep issue underlying before she does or he did what he did. Yeah.
It's true that the suicide cases have gone higher. Back in the day, it was like maybe once in a couple of months that you'd hear someone has done something, and it was like, oh my God, aje, tulikuwa wapi? You see,
and even suicide was reserved for adults.
And it was very hard to have a child commit suicide, and even it was like, guy, like where were we? Because you know, kitambo there was that community aspect. Siku hizi every man for himself. But for a child to get to that point where they're taking their lives, it's like they've reached a dead end. They feel like nobody will understand. But there are always telltale signs. There are always telltale signs. It's just that sometimes we are too busy to notice, or sometimes we're in denial. But yes, if you notice, you'll just notice there was a pattern, there was a cycle there, and then they decided, you know what, nobody sees me, nobody affirms me, nobody validates me, I am meaningless. I mean, it would make no difference whether I was around or not, and they just decide to end their lives, which is sad. Yeah.
And the issues of a teenage pregnancy, I do remember back in our days when somebody got pregnant while in school, it was quite a big thing.
Yeah.
But now it has been, and especially compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic, where we had our kids for a year, and everyone was on matters COVID. We even forgot that we have a cardinal duty to ensure that our kids grow in the right way. And these are some of the cases that I do remember. Even yesterday, the Chief Justice asked the President that he would kindly request him to be a champion of kids, because for a very long time, we even have the Children's Act of 2022, just to underscore how things have changed and how the society now is moving in quite fast to ensure that we are trying to sort out some of these things. And as a parent, now we're talking about that's government, and we want champions, especially for SGBV. As parents, sometimes we are part of the problem. I'm talking about cases of FGM. In Kenya, we've seen even kids being taken to neighboring countries so that they may undergo that, and they are taken there by parents. We have seen cases of early marriages. Unfortunately, some of our communities do encourage that, and the government is moving in to ensure that our kids do not find themselves in such predicaments. What more can we do as a parent?
You see, once you understand that you're your child's #1 advocate, you'll do everything necessary. An advocate is a person who stands up for your rights, right? So this child has their own rights. What are we doing about it? Are we empowering them with this information, or we are like, no, they will learn at school, because that's what we do. We are like, this topic is too complicated. Wataambiwa na walimu kule. These difficult conversations that we avoid are the ones that lead to a lot of dysfunctionality in the long term. Yes. So we need sex education is something that is supposed to be in the curriculum.
Let's keep our kids busy.
Let's keep our kids busy. Let us have routines for them. Let us enroll them in, we've got a lot of camps, kids camps over the holidays. Let's do that. Let's have a chore list for them. From as early as 3 years. Mtoto wa 3 years anaweza toa kikombe kwa meza, and they enjoy when they are asked to help around. So let us involve them in our day-to-day activities, so that we also don't raise children who have no skills at all, because we are trying to pamper them in.
And us as parents, the responsibilities that we have to give our kids. Talking about, for example, right now my kids are at home. If I need something done, I'll hire somebody. Mostly we take them to mashambani there, just like what used to happen to us during our time. And I remember 20 years ago when I was getting my driver's license, my parent told me, yes, fine, it's okay, I'll give you the money, but I need you to plow a certain length of the shamba, or plant cassavas, or do something. But unfortunately now we are giving our kids a lot of free time. Something that we should be engaging our kids in each and everything that we do. Some parents, they do take their kids to the businesses that they do, and they assist, and especially now. But others, they just hire. I will hire somebody to plow that land, and then give my kid the money to go and do a course or something. Do you think perhaps keeping them this busy could assist?
Of course, we say an idle mind is the devil's workshop. I mean, clearly. So if we're able to involve them, let them just do something with their time. Of course, have time to rest and rejuvenate, but also keep them busy, keep them occupied. Give them time to play, because of course play is the language of a child. So let them play, let them interact with their peers, but at the same time let them not have so much free time. I like the aspect that you brought in of parents taking their children to their businesses, because now you give them skills. You're just not raising someone who's helpless. We also need to put into consideration the fact that we have different socioeconomic status. So there are people who can afford to hire a nanny, a driver, a cook, a gardener, a scary, and all that. But those ones are the ones who can afford to just pay for activities for their children. If not, then involve them. Let them cook. Let them clean. Let them iron. Let them do those household chores. Let them spread their beds. Let them help around the house. Yes.
All right. And we're going to continue with this conversation, but for now, let's cross over to the KEPSHA annual conference, where the PS Education Belio Kipsang is currently speaking. Let's first of all listen in. Just in case you joined us, this is KBC News Check. Let's have a quick break. We'll be right back.